always careful when I talk to women who are stay-at-home mothers, not to ask them, do you work? To ask them, do you work at home or out of the home? Let me read you something. I found this. Kristen really likes the If You Give a Dog a Donut books, and somebody wrote kind of a variation on it called, If You Give a Mom a Muffin. If you give a mom a muffin, she'll want a cup of coffee to go with it. She'll pour herself some. Her 3-year-old will come and spill the coffee. Mom will wipe it up. Wiping the floor, she will find dirty socks. She'll remember she has to do the laundry. When she puts the laundry into the washer, she'll trip over shoes and bump into the freezer. Bumping into the freezer will remind her she has to plan supper. She'll get out a pound of hamburger. She'll look for her cookbook, How to Make 101 Things with a Pound of Hamburger. The cookbook is sitting under a pile of mail. She'll see the phone bill, which is due tomorrow. She'll look for her checkbook. The checkbook is in her purse, which is being dumped out by her 2-year-old. Then she'll smell something funny. She'll change the 2-year-old. While she's changing the 2-year-old, the phone will ring. Her 5-year-old will answer and hang up. She'll remember she was supposed to phone a friend to come over for coffee. Thinking of coffee will remind her that she's going to have a cup. She will pour herself some, and chances are, if she has a cup of coffee, her kids will have eaten the muffin that went with it.
Absolutely.
You hear an amen? Amen. Sarah told me the other day, she's like, I just feel so tired, and I don't feel like I've gotten anything done. So congratulations, you have a 3-year-old. It happens. I want to talk to you guys about rest today. Getting rest. Anybody, would you be okay if we did nap time? In the middle of the church? Anybody cool with that? I know Griffin is coming off the ER shift. Just after prayer, we'll just lay down. We'll put out mats right in the aisles. And I think adults need that too. Open with me to the book of Genesis. The book of Genesis. If you hit Revelation, you've gone too far. Genesis chapter 2, verse 2. I want to tell you how we got the weekend. Some of you work on weekends, I'm sorry. Genesis 2:2. By the 7th day, God is creating everything. God had finished the work he had been doing. So on the 7th day, he rested from all his work. Now, it has blown Christine's mind this week to discover that God never gets tired. She asked me yesterday, did God get hungry? Either just can't quite understand how he does it. What does it mean then for God to rest? God, who is infinite in power and never tires, still chose, through spending 6 days creating everything, to stop for a day and do nothing. The next verse. Then God blessed the 7th day and made it holy, because on it he rested from all the work of creating he had done. Now we run into a word here, the Sabbath. Maybe you've heard it before, the Sabbath day and keeping it holy. The word Sabbath means 7th. In Hebrew it is the 7th day, which by the way is Saturday. Saturday for Jewish people is the Sabbath day. God rested from all of his work on Saturday. Now, the 2-day weekend didn't come in until much later, when Christians began, the early church, they began to meet and gather together, not on Saturday like the Jewish people did, but on Sunday, the first day of the week, which is the day that Jesus rose from the dead. And so those two patterns established the 2-day weekend. So the next time you're talking to somebody and you ever hear somebody say, well, I don't know that religion has ever done anybody any good, talk to them on a Saturday and be like, are you working today? No, you're welcome. So even before the giving of the 10 Commandments that we'll go into, if you want to flip ahead to the book of Exodus, we'll spend some time there. Even before the giving of the law, there was this pattern that God set of working and resting. And so even though we're not bound by these laws in the same way that the people of Israel were, I still think there's something very valuable, especially for us today, to learn from this. Exodus chapter 20. This is the giving of the 10 Commandments. We get to number 4. Verse 8. Remember the Sabbath day, so it's Saturday, Remember the Sabbath day by keeping it holy. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work. Now, work is good. All right, we're in kind of an indefinite series right now. I have no idea when this baby's going to come, so this may be a one-part series. Hopefully it won't be more than like 3, right? But God willing, next week we'll talk about work ethic and all that. So work is a good thing. It says 6 days do your work. But the 7th day is a Sabbath to the Lord your God. On it you shall not do any work, neither you, nor your son, or daughter, nor your male or female servant, nor your animals, nor any foreigner residing in your towns. For in 6 days the Lord made the heavens and the earth, the sea, and all that is in them. But he rested on the 7th day. Therefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and made it holy. And so he commands them to rest, to drop everything. And not just you. Don't have your kids out there mowing the yard. Don't make your servants do stuff. Don't even make your animals work. Give the dog, I wish my dog would take a day off sometimes barking at the cars going by. Your animals have rest too. And even built into the same law, there was a period of rest for the land as well. That every 7th year, they were to allow their fields to lie fallow. And it points back to the pattern set in creation. It says, God wants you to rest because he rested. And I'll tell you something here today. You were not created to work without stopping. Anybody been there?
Yes.
Your bodies need rest. You will literally go insane if you do not sleep. You need physical rest. And some companies are actually starting to get this now. I was driving by a new building. They're renovating this building out in Mountain Home. And I think they're putting in like a putt-putt golf course or something. Stephen, you pointed out to me, and it was some recreational facility. Companies are starting to tell their employees, hey, we want you to come to work, but like on your 15, go play some mini golf. They're acknowledging that the expectation for you to sit there and just do nothing but work is actually counterproductive. And they're doing that hoping to get more out of their employees. You were not made to work without stopping. And maybe you've had, like I said, that experience of hitting your limits. Sarah and I went through this time where she was working full-time, going to night school. She was doing clinicals on the weekends. And I was working full-time, and I was doing night school. And I was also teaching 3 ministries at the time. Just insane schedule. And I actually hit a point where I was like, you know what my problem is? I have too much time that I'm wasting it. So I actually set out at one point in all of this, and I tried to eliminate all time from my schedule that was not study or work or preparation of some kind. Can you imagine how that ended for me? It was miserable. Not only was it personally miserable, I was basically doing everything horribly. You can't do that. Your body wasn't made to do that. The Sabbath was created for our good. Resting is good for you. And not only is it good, and I think we need this reminder, the Sabbath was also enforced by the death penalty. Exodus 31. Whoever does any work on the Sabbath day is to be put to death. And I think some people I've met, it would take that. You can either put your work down and sit down for a minute, or I'll kill you. Resting is not easy. For many people, I'll just tell you, resting is a choice. Some people, anybody love your job? You love what you do? Like that's my problem. Okay, I love ministry. I love what I do, and sometimes that makes it hard because we're talking about coming up on these fall festivals. And Sarah and I talked about, let's go and do some outreach, be in the community. And then I was like, oh, wait, you're going to be super pregnant. So, hey, let's do something simple. And then I had a cool idea. And all of a sudden I'm like, oh man, we're going to turn the church bus into a big kid-eating monster and tell them about our bus ministry while terrifying them of the church bus. And so then I'm sketching out, I'm like, 3-dimensional foam teeth, and I'm making scale prototypes in our living room at 9 o'clock at night. and just there's a mess everywhere. And Sarah is sitting over on the couch giving me the side eye. And she says, simple, Aaron. Simple. And it's hard when you love what you do, not to just pour more and more of yourself into it. And remember, I need to stop. I need to stop and put the work down. And breathe for a minute. And if you have kids, I mean, that's basically impossible. But it's a choice, and sometimes our struggle is we love what we do. And here's the irony of it, right? When we feel overworked, and Americans are year after year, we're taking less of our vacation, and I think we're feeling more and more stressed. But when you look at it historically, the work week in the mid-1800s, the average work week, because they're doing manual labor on farms, is like 70 hours a week. And then that dropped. You get to 1900 is about 60 hours a week. 1950 dropped to about 40 hours. And so you consider the work week has been declining, and add to that all of these machines that do stuff faster for us, right? Why are we so busy? I would challenge you to sit at home for 30 seconds without the TV on, people without holding your phone. Watch people do this. They took people into a room, all right? Young people, they took them into a room, and they took their phones from them. They put them on a stool, and they said, here, just sit here on this stool. We'll be back in like 5-10 minutes. Oh, and if you get bored, they hook them up to this machine. You can press this button, and it will shock you. Painful amounts of electricity will surge through your body. You know how many people chose painful electric shocks over being at rest for like 5 minutes with nothing to do and no Facebook to scroll through? We make ourselves busy. Even if you don't have a crazy demanding job or you don't like your job or whatever, we fill our own schedules up with so much stuff. Every last hour in the day with activity. Parents of young kids, amen? Kids in school playing sports. I knew a family in North Carolina, and I was like, we're not seeing your daughter like ever at church. They're like, oh yeah, she's on like 3 volleyball teams. What? Nobody needs to be on 3 volleyball teams at one time. We do it to ourselves. We overcommit. People ask us to do things and things we enjoy doing, and we fill up that calendar. Now, our phones will remind us every hour on the hour of what we have coming up next. And we brag about our busyness. We wear our cluttered schedules like this badge of honor, like, look, I didn't even have time to shower today. I can't remember the last time I sat down to eat food. Eating junk food in our cars because we're so busy, and we make ourselves like that. And that leftover time is just swallowed up by that phone. I'm not going to kill you. I'm not going to show up and enforce that. If you don't rest, you're doing it to yourself. Choosing rest may mean some difficult decisions. Look at Ecclesiastes. And I really like the progression here. Fools fold their hands. I think it's something that. Fools fold their hands and ruin themselves. Better one handful with tranquility than 2 handfuls with toil and chasing after the wind. Now, I think sometimes our problem is that we confuse rest with laziness. We think of somebody sitting there doing nothing, and we assume, oh, look how lazy they are. So it says, there are some people, they have nothing in their hands because they fold their hands and sleep, and so he says, go get a job. Don't be lazy. Work is good. But then he goes on, and he draws a comparison. 1 handful with tranquility and rest, or 2 handfuls with toil, in that theme of Ecclesiastes, chasing after the wind. Isn't that the American dream, though? 2 handfuls? If I could sum it up for some people, it would be that the American dream is that if you have one handful, that if you apply yourself, if you forget the phrase work-life balance, and you go out there and you're dedicated enough, you can have 2 handfuls. Workers at Amazon. In addition, you go and you work there, they just tell you, forget the idea of any kind of balance here. You're selling us your soul. They take the lowest performing workers every year and just fire them. That's a built-in part of their company. 2 handfuls with toil, chasing after the wind. Ecclesiastes 2:23, all their days their work is grief and pain. Even at night their minds do not rest. This too is meaningless. I think this is prophetic, talking about work-related emails. Now, I'm not saying that you're sinning if you have a demanding job. All right, I'm not saying that God is angered with us if you're in a situation where you just need to make that commitment. You got bills to pay your bills. You're in that situation in life, like us going through college. All right, we did that with a purpose in mind. But I would ask you to question, what is your heart in all this? Because there are people who chase after just a little bit more. And what they really want at the end of the day is to get 2 handfuls instead of 1. I've seen families wrecked by this mentality. And so again, I'm not saying that you need to quit your job and go get one that only involves working 30 hours a week and just barely scrape by so you can have as much time resting as possible. But maybe you feel like you've got 2 handfuls of grief. Some of you probably feel like you have 1 handful of the grief and toil, and you don't know how to get out of that situation. But there does come a point in our lives when all more work will get you is more money. And all it will cost you is everything else. So there comes times in our life when we make that choice for the 1 handful. Resting reminds us also who provides for us. And it's similar to tithing in that respect. Exodus 34:21. 6 days you shall labor, but on the 7th day you shall rest. And I found this hard. Even during the plowing season and harvest, you must rest. Now, I'm no farmer, grew up in the suburbs, but I believe in it, and check me if I'm wrong in it, aren't those the 2 busiest times of the year? Right? Plowing and harvest. And you can imagine, but God, you don't understand. I have to bring the crops in. And Saturday falls, and God says, you know what? I want you to trust me first for your well-being, and I want you to rest. Can you imagine as they've got their pagan neighbors next to them? And it's harvest time, and the crops are being pulled in, and everybody is working just around the clock, pulling them in. And then they see their Jewish neighbor's field over there, and they look, and they're not doing anything. And they walk over there, and they talk to them. What do you realize it's harvest time? Come on, you got to go now. I'm worried about, you have enough food to make it through the winter. What is going on with you? And they say, oh, well, it's the Sabbath day. God commands us to rest. He promises to provide. Now, I'll be honest with you. When Mitchell's born, we're going to take a week of vacation, and it's hard. My leadership has told me, don't show up at church. You go home and you stay there. We've got this. And it's hard. Because I'll be honest with you, a part of me is worried that if I'm not there, stuff isn't going to get done. Or if I'm not doing stuff. And then God reminds me, Aaron, whose church is it? It's mine. Whose work is it? It's It's mine. Who gives the birds their food? Provides for every living thing on this planet. I do. I've got this. And even then, I'm like, are you sure, God? Like, you'll notice now, we've been talking about rest, like I haven't even defined what rest is. And so in the book of Leviticus, he makes it very clear that rest is more than just not doing anything. Leviticus 23, there are 6 days when you may work, but the seventh day is a day of Sabbath, rest, a day of sacred assembly. You are not to do any work wherever you live. It is a Sabbath to the Lord. So it's a stepping back from the work that we do. And he says, I want you to give me that time. So we are, when we rest, and the rest that we really need is to spend time doing what we were truly created to do. I'm sorry, not Netflix. That's how we usually do the rest, right? The generation of binge watchers. So when you finally take that day out, we finally find a moment to sit down. We sit down and we watch like 3 full seasons of a show. And you get to the end of it and you don't feel any more relaxed than when you started. This is not the kind of rest that the Bible describes. It's a day of Sabbath rest, a day of sacred assembly. They were to gather together, and the reason they stopped working is so that they could come together. And they met later on in the synagogues. Before that, it was in the temple. And they devoted the day to the Lord. Now, we have people in this church, all right, who you will see get up. They come, dressed for work like Miss Crystal. You'll see them get up and leave, to go to work. I get that. All right, and that's why we post our messages online. We do our best to support those people, and that's the reality of their work schedule. But it's important to remember that what we really need and what provides us that rest is not just that we sit down and we say, can you all practice? Say no. Let's all practice that together. 1, 2, 3. No. Boss asks you to come into work. Sometimes you gotta say no. Blame your pastor. All right, so somebody asks you, to do something, and your schedule's already overcrowded. You just say no. I need some rest. And you know what you have to fight for? And again, you may not even be in a situation where you can take a whole day off. I would tell you this, even if that's not the reality of your life right now, what you can do, what you should fight for is time with God. Even if you don't have a full day to sit out in a hammock in your backyard and drink iced tea, what you really need is time with God. And you will have to fight for it. All right, so maybe for you it's like, putting that Bible app on your phone right next to the Facebook icon. So every time you flip it open, your eyes at least have to pass over the way to other things. Setting a regular time. One of the most important things that happened to me as I went through Bible college was one of the classes, the teacher made us do this for a grade. And again, that was during the time when I was trying to cut out everything else. And she said, I just want you to sit and journal through. And she started low. She's like, just 10 minutes a day. It was hard. Man, that first day I was sitting there, and I'm a fidgeter. Like, I can't, sit still. And so I'm sitting there, and I'm like, I feel lazy. I feel like I'm not doing anything. And my mind is racing about all these other things. And so I get it. It's not an easy thing to do, to rest. Spend time with God. But it is what you need. That is the rest that you were created to enjoy with God. It is for your good to make this a habit in your life. And we've been trying to do this. On Wednesday afternoons, we pick up kids from the school right when we bring them to the church. We eat a meal together. And then we go not just in reading through the book of Luke, but then we do a chapter a week. And one of the students that we have here, she has this really cool looking cube Bible. And she began to read one chapter ahead and then two chapters ahead. And she's told me she's almost all the way through Luke. And then she tells me this past Wednesday, she said, I'm going to read through the Bible in 90 days. And there's this light in her eyes. And then she catches me after youth. As she's leaving, she said, Pastor Aaron, I just want you to know today as Donnell was teaching, I felt my heart beating faster. I said, you're getting it. May God give us a desire for His Word, a desire for time to Him that enlivens everything else. Because you will alter your schedule for hunting season. I will alter my schedule for football season. Those are good ways of rest. I'm just saying that when there are things that we view as worthwhile, we carve that time out of our schedules, and what you desperately need is rest. Jesus said, come to me, all of you who are weary and burdened. Anybody weary and burdened this morning? And I will give you rest. Now, Jesus doesn't promise us like a 30-hour work week. Instead, He says, take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. Your kids may not sleep, your boss may be overbearing, but Jesus gives you rest for your soul. He says, for my yoke is easy, and my burden is light. I want to give you a chance to respond this morning. And come forward, and maybe some of you are saying, God, I realize that my approach towards work or my other obligations is something that I need to repent of. I have crowded out the more important things in my life. And maybe that other people today, your soul is burdened and weary. God invites you to come to Him, and He will give you the rest that you were created to enjoy. And I'm praying this morning, pastors are not immune to this. All right? I have fallen out at times of my patterns of rest and time with God. Let's pray. Lord, sometimes it is so hard to set everything that screams for our attention aside. To lay down our work, to set aside our schedules, and to simply sit like a young child in your presence. God, we need more than a Sunday morning's worth of that every week. God, I pray that you would create in us a hunger, a desire for that time that would be more than our hunger for food or our thirst for water. God, that we would crave it more than a tired parent craves sleep. That you would bless those times with you. That we'd come out of it refreshed and focused on what truly matters. Jesus, that you would draw us to you for your yoke is easy. In Jesus' name. If you'd like to come forward for prayer this morning, if you'd like somebody to pray with you, you can come to this side. If you'd just like to spend that time alone with God, you can come to the other side.